The gates were the first warning, not the height of them, not the two armed men who stepped out before Naomi's car had fully stopped. It was the silence behind them, the kind that doesn't happen by accident, the kind that has to be enforced. She almost turned around. She didn't. The agency had told her almost nothing. A private client, a child who hadn't spoken in 3 years. Extraordinary compensation. No social media. No discussion with outside parties. She had signed 4 documents before they gave her the address. Now, standing inside a mansion that looked less like a home and more like a fortress wearing marble as a disguise, Naomi understood why. The man who walked through the double doors was not what she expected. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in all black like the color had made him a personal promise. A scar ran from the edge of his jaw down toward his collarbone. He didn't smile. He didn't extend his hand. He just looked at her the way people look at a last resort, with equal parts exhaustion and demand. "You're the therapist," he said. "I am. Naomi Clarke." She kept her voice steady. "And you're Ryu Jin-hyuk." He sat across from her, without being invited to. "My daughter hasn't spoken in 3 years. 12 therapists before you. 12 failures." His eyes didn't move from hers. "You are number 13. Naomi held his gaze. What happened to the other 12? A pause that lasted exactly long enough to mean something. "They quit." She looked around the room. The security cameras in the corners. The man stationed just outside the door whose shadow she could see through the frosted glass. The absolute stillness of a house where no one laughed. "How long have you been in Seoul?" she asked. He frowned slightly. It was not the question he expected. "My whole life." "And your daughter was born here?" "Yes." "Does she still have things from before? Her mother's things? Things that smell like her or sound like her?" Something shifted in his face. "Why?" "Because silence in children is almost never about the future," Naomi said. "It's always about something they are holding from the past. Something they don't know how to put down." She looked at him directly. "So, does she?" He studied her for a long moment, like she was a document he was deciding whether to sign. "Yes," he said finally. "Her mother's jewelry box. A voice recording on an old phone. Some letters. Good." Naomi stood up and picked up her bag. "I'd like to meet her now. Before we go any further, if you're new here, welcome to Afro-Korean Vibes. This channel is home to the most emotional, most gripping Afro-Korean love stories on the internet. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications right now, because we drop new stories every week, and you do not want to miss what is coming. And if you have been here before, you already know. Let's get into it." Jin-hyuk's daughter was 7 years old, and her name was Sora. She sat in the therapy room with her knees pulled to her chest, watching Naomi the way wild things watch movement. Not with fear, but with calculation, deciding. Naomi didn't push. She didn't ask Sora to speak, to share, to open up. She just sat on the floor, opened a tin of colored pencils, and started drawing something for herself. After 11 minutes, Sora reached over and took the red pencil. She drew a house, then a woman inside it. Then she put the pencil down and looked at Naomi. "That's beautiful," Naomi said quietly. "Is that your house?" Sora didn't answer, but she didn't look away either. After the session, Naomi walked back through the long corridor toward the entrance. The walls were hung with framed press clippings and photographs, business accolades, charity donations, a man in a suit shaking hands with a government minister. She paused at one frame, pulled out her phone, photographed the name. She Googled in the car before she even started the engine. The first result was Forbes Korea. The second result stopped her cold. It was an Interpol intelligence brief, leaked, 3 years old, heavily redacted, but the photograph was clear, and the words underneath it were very clear. Ryu Jin-hyuk, suspected head of the Ryu Syndicate, linked to 12 jurisdictions across Asia and Eastern Europe, last known status, active. Naomi sat in that car for a long time. Then she did something she could not fully explain, not even to herself. She pulled up her calendar, and she confirmed next Tuesday's session. If this already has your heart racing, you are exactly where you need to be. Drop Naomi in the comments right now, so I know you are watching. Share this with one person who lives for a story like this, because it is only getting darker and sweeter from here. 6 weeks later, Sora was drawing entire worlds. Not just houses, cities, skies, people with names written carefully beneath them. She still hadn't spoken a word, but the drawings had become a language all their own, and Naomi had learned to read every sentence. She noticed the sessions were lasting longer, not because Sora needed more time, because Jin-hyuk kept finding reasons to be home when she finished. The first time it happened, she thought it was coincidence. The second time, she thought it was scheduling. By the fourth time, when she walked out of the therapy room to find him leaning against the hallway wall with 2 cups of coffee and no explanation, she stopped lying to herself. She took the coffee. "You know I Googled you," she said. He didn't flinch. "I know. My team flagged it within the hour. So, you know that I know." "Yes. And you still let me come back. Every week." He looked at the cup in his hands. "You are the first person in 3 years who made my daughter pick up a pencil. You could be anyone and I would still open that gate." Naomi studied him. The man in the Interpol report didn't look like someone who lets people in. He isn't. A pause. But his daughter needed someone, and his daughter chose you. There it was. Not a confession. Not a charm offensive. Just a truth delivered with the same directness he used for everything. Like softness was a language he had tried once and found it cost too much. They stood in that hallway until both cups were empty. It kept happening. Coffee became dinner. Informal, unchosen, both of them somehow still at the table at 9 o'clock, when they'd meant to finish at 7. He asked her questions the way he built things. Carefully, structurally, one at a time. Where was she from? What made her choose trauma therapy? Did she miss Atlanta? She asked him nothing about the business. He noticed that, and she could see from a way something in him eased that it was the right choice. "You are not afraid of me," he said one evening. "I didn't say that," she replied. "You act like it." "I act like the version of you that is sitting at this table is the version I am talking to," she said. "Whatever else you are, that's between you and God and probably several governments." He looked at her for a long time, and then just slightly, just once, the corner of his mouth moved. She filed that away. She took it out later in her car and looked at it for a while. The black rose appeared on a Thursday. She found on the hood of her car after an evening session. Single stem. No note. She picked it up with 2 fingers like it might bite. She called him before she had even reached the gate. "There's a black rose on my car," she said. 3 seconds of silence. Then his voice, and something in the temperature of it dropped so fast she felt it through the phone. "Don't touch it. Don't move. I'm coming out." She had never heard him sound like that. Not measured. Not controlled. Afraid. He was outside in under a minute. He looked at the rose. He looked at the street. He said nothing to her, just spoke quietly to the 2 men who appeared beside him. Then he turned and looked at her with an expression she had never seen on his face before. "I'm assigning you a security detail," he said. "Excuse me. Starting tonight." "Jin-hyuk, I am not." "Naomi." He said her name like it was the only word he had. "Please." She stopped arguing. She drove home with a black SUV behind her. She sat in her apartment that night with her knees pulled up on the sofa and realized she was sitting the exact same way Sora sat on that first day, deciding, calculating, trying to figure out if she was safe. He said, "Please." This man who runs empires said, "Please." Drop a fire emoji if that hit you somewhere. And if you're just finding this channel, Afro-Korean Vibes is where every week we bring you love stories that cross every ocean. Subscribe now. You found your people. She found the recording on a Tuesday morning. It was on the therapy tablet, saved automatically by the session software. Naomi almost missed it. She nearly archived the whole folder without playing it. Something made her press play. Sora's voice was small and careful, the way voices sound when they've been kept inside for a very long time. The men came at night. Mama told me to hide under the bed. She said, "Don't come out no matter what I hear." A long breath. I didn't come out. I didn't. A pause that stretched for nearly 10 seconds. Mama didn't come to get me. She didn't come. The recording was 4 minutes long. Naomi listened to every second of it. Then she sat in her car with both hands pressed flat on her thighs and stared at the gates of the Ryu estate until her vision cleared. Heron didn't die in a car accident. Jin Hyuk had told her that on the very first day. Carefully, flatly, the way people recite facts they have rehearsed so many times they no longer feel them. A car accident. 3 years ago. Very sudden. Sora was home with staff. It was peaceful. Nothing about what Sora described was peaceful when Jin Hyuk arrived for the end-of-session briefing. Naomi was standing by the window with her arms crossed. She had made a decision in that car. She was not going to play the recording. Not yet. Not until she understood what protecting Sora actually required, and whether that protection meant keeping the truth from her father or finally giving it to him. She's making good progress, Naomi said, keeping her voice level. I can see that. He was watching her the way he always watched her. Carefully, like she was a signal he was learning to read. You seem different today. Long morning. Naomi. She looked at him. Whatever you are carrying right now, he said slowly, you can put it on the table, whatever it is. She almost did. She almost took out the tablet right then and pressed play and let him hear his daughter's voice for the first time in 3 years, saying the thing that neither of them had said out loud. Then Sora walked into the room. She crossed the floor, without hesitation, straight past her father, straight to Naomi. She stopped directly in front of her, tilted her small face upward, and wrapped both hands around Naomi's wrist the way children hold on to things they are afraid of losing. Then she spoke. 3 words, quiet and certain. Please don't go. Nobody moved. Jin Hyuk's breath caught. Audibly, a man who controlled entire organizations, who had sat across from people who wanted him dead and shown them nothing. He could not control the sound that left his chest in that moment. Something between a breath and something that wasn't. 3 years of silence. 3 years. Ended in a therapy room by a 7-year-old who had decided, on her own terms, that she was ready. Naomi crouched down to eye level. Her voice was steady even though nothing else was. I am not going anywhere, baby, she said. I promise you. Sora studied her face with the same thoroughness she applied everything. Then she nodded once, released her wrist, and walked back to her father. Jin Hyuk looked at his daughter for a long moment. Then he looked at Naomi, and his face, that controlled, armored, unreadable face, was completely open. She had never seen anything like it on him. She had to look away first. She was halfway to her car when Cho intercepted her. Jin Hyuk's head of security, a man who had never once spoken to her directly in 9 weeks. Ms. Clarke. His face was stone. Mr. Ryu asked me to inform you of a development. What kind of development? The individuals who left the rose on your vehicle have been identified. A pause built like a wall. They are the same individuals responsible for Mrs. Ryu's death. The air left her body completely. They have been surveilling you, Cho continued, for the past 3 weeks. Sora spoke, and the people who killed her mother have been watching Naomi. This story just changed completely. Type Sora spoke if you felt that. Share this right now. Somebody in your contacts needs to be on this channel tonight. The final part answers everything. He told her everything that night. They sat across from each other in the study. No coffee this time, no careful pacing. He sat full with his hands laced and his eyes on hers, and he took apart the version of the story he had been holding for 3 years. Heron knew what I was when she married me, he said. She wasn't deceived. She made a choice. 2 years in, she came to me with an exit plan, documented, legal, every asset restructured. She had been building it for months without telling me. His jaw tightened. Someone inside found out. They went to a rival faction. One night while I was in Japan, he stopped. His hands pressed together harder. They came to the house. Naomi thought of the recording. The small, careful voice. The bed. The instruction not to come out. Sora saw it, she said. Not a question. Yes. His voice was flat and even, the way voices get when emotion has been compressed into something load-bearing. She was under bed for 4 hours before security found her. She has not spoken a word since that night. Until today. Until today. He looked at her. Because of you. Naomi let that sit for a moment. Then, the exit plan. Is it still running? He held her gaze. I have spent 3 years finishing what Heron started. Quietly, from the inside. Every person responsible for that night, removed. Every structure she identified, dismantled. He paused. I am 30 days from the end of it. And the men watching me, the last faction with anything to use against me. They saw you coming here. They thought, he stopped, they thought you were the way in. Someone close enough to leverage. Naomi sat very still. Are you going to send me away? He looked at her for a long moment. I should. That is not what I asked. He exhaled, slowly, like something he had been carrying since the first morning she walked through his gates was finally coming loose. I should send you away, he said. I should manufacture a reason, pay you what you are owed, and make sure your name disappears from everything connected to mine. That is what a careful man does. Why haven't you? Because Sora spoke today. His voice was rough now. And because I have not been able to stop thinking about you since the second week you walked into this house. And because I am... He paused, and when he continued his voice was different, lower, stripped of all the armor. I am so tired of choosing safety over the people I want to keep. I did that once. I told myself Heron was safer with distance between us and our real life. She was in this house alone because of that decision. The room was very quiet. 30 days. Naomi said, Yes. Are you certain? Yes. She looked at him. Really looked the way she'd been trained to look. The way Sora looked at everything. Past the surface. Past the control. Then I am not going anywhere for 30 days, she said. And after 30 days, we are going to have a completely different conversation. About what comes next. About Sora. About all of it. Something in his face changed. Not dramatically. Just a settling. Like a building that had been braced against a storm and was now, slowly, standing down. You are not afraid of this, he said. I didn't say that, she said. I said I'm staying anyway. 31 days later, Naomi's phone rang at 9 in the morning. She picked up on the first ring. It's done, Jin-hyuk said. She exhaled. I know. Sora texted me last night. A pause. Then, she texted you. She has been texting me for 2 weeks. Mostly voice notes. Mostly about a cartoon she likes, and whether I prefer dumplings or jollof rice. He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, something in his voice was looser than she had ever heard it. What did you tell her? I told her that is a false choice, and I refused to answer. He laughed. A real one, not the controlled, quarter smile she had been collecting for weeks. A full, unguarded, completely human laugh that came from somewhere that had been locked up for 3 years. She sat on her kitchen floor with her back against the cabinets and listened to it. Jin-hyuk, she said when the laughter settled. Yes. Sora asked me something else. What? She asked if I would come for dinner on Saturday. Naomi paused. She said she wants to teach me something. I told her that depends entirely on you. A silence, long enough that she thought about filling it. Then Saturday, he said, 7 o'clock. And Naomi, yes. She wants to teach you the dumpling recipe. A pause. It was Heron's. Naomi pressed her hand flat against her chest. I will be there, she said softly. Tell her I will be there. She hung up the phone and sat on her kitchen floor for a long time, thinking about a little girl who drew houses with women inside them for 3 years before anyone understood why. Thinking about a man who spent those same 3 years quietly finishing what his wife started. Thinking about the morning she drove up to those gates and almost turned around. She didn't turn around. Sometimes that is the whole story. Not the explosion, not the grand moment. Just a woman who stayed. And a man who finally stopped building walls long enough to let her. If this story wrecked you in the best possible way, you are officially part of the Afro-Korean Vibes family. Subscribe right now if you have not already. Every single week we bring you love stories that hit different, stories that cross cultures and break every rule and make you feel everything. Share this video with someone who needs it tonight. Drop Saturday in the comments if you want to see what happens at that dinner. And type part 2 if you want to watch Naomi meet Jin-hyuk's world for the very first time. As is, not as a therapist, not as a visitor, as the woman he chose. That episode is going to change everything.